Welcome home, family and fellow citizens of the African Order. I'm here with another video, and the topic of this discussion is Joe Biden, you're next. You know, I was having a conversation with one of my followers, and when I told them the topic of my next video, they was like, "But why, Jonathan? He hasn't even had 100 days in office yet." And I said, "I'm like, are you serious? You think I'm gonna give this guy 100 days before I make him the focus of my attention?" Now I could see myself giving him a break had he come to us, and sat down and discussed policies and procedures that he was willing to implement that would directly impact our people, in return for our support. But he didn't do that. He came, he sought, and he received with no obligation, and then had the audacity to go on national television and tell the world I didn't promise black people nothing for their vote. So I don't know what this guy's intention is. So no, I'm not giving him no break. But it made me think though. If you have an employer, he needs his employees to help realize his vision. They have to work together. When you have a people who have been deceived, beaten, raped, murdered, enslaved, um, Jim Crow, imprisoned, marginalized, humiliated for 500 years. When you see these people still willing to have hope and faith in the same people that put you in this position, that shows that these people they need leadership. They need to be led. They need somebody that has a vision beyond what they have. Because anybody can step in that role and lead them wherever. And white people are never going to lead you to where I want to lead us. But that being said, let me get into this video. Joe Biden, he come into office, talking about, well, before we can get the economy straight, we got to get COVID under control. And I agree with that. And he started signing all these executive orders, talking about how COVID-19 has disproportionately affected the elderly and black people, you know. But, the thing is, it puzzled me how blacks have been suffering economically in this country for 500 years. And within 10 months of COVID, you was able to um, target and come up with a vaccine. But blacks have been impoverished in this country for generations. So, Joe, I'm going to need you to get on all these things that made blacks so vulnerable to COVID. The economic imbalance, the access to health, wholesome nutritional food, clean water. And I want you to target these things specifically for blacks. Don't just treat COVID. I want everything treated. And it shouldn't take you 10 months to do it. If you could find vaccines for COVID in 10 months for a problem that's been plaguing blacks ever since we've been in this country for 500 years, you should be able to come up with a solution for that in no time. And then what else Joe Biden was talking about was the racial equality that blacks and whites need to have. I agree with that also. And if there's going to be any type of equality, then the laws that exist today need to be applied fairly to blacks and whites, regardless of position. So, what I would like to see Joe Biden do is to enact new laws that would make a president more vulnerable to the existing laws than anybody else, because you can't have a chief of police that had the same record that Donald Trump had and still keep his job. You couldn't have a surgeon that had the same reputation that Donald Trump had and keep his job. When you're in a position of leadership, you can't even look like you do anything illegal that would damage the reputation and the ramifications that it would have if you were corrupt. We got to get you out of office immediately. So, Joe, you need to start implementing laws that if a president um, mentality, personality, whatever, deems himself a threat to the people or the country, he need to be able to they need to be able to get this guy out of office immediately. And I'm not talking about no time assuming impeachment crap. This guy need to be escorted out immediately. I know when this insurrection thing happened, and I'm talking to a friend of mine on the phone, I said, "Oh, this guy gonna be out of office first thing in the morning. If he's not out of office by midnight tonight, he's gonna be out of office by 12 o'clock the next day." And here it is, 20 days beyond his presidency, and then you're and talking about impeaching this guy to get him out of office. And I'm like, 20 days? It should have took you 20 minutes to get this guy out of office. When you seen what he did, he sat there on national TV and called it out. How did it take 20 minutes for you to get this guy out of office? That's because there's a disparity in the laws. It is not applied fairly. So I want to see that enacted. And then Donald Trump, he had on his tenure over 400,000 people died from COVID. And many of them died because he had no plan whatsoever set up. And this was discovered when Joe Biden got in office. No meetings with the doctors, nothing. After he had lost that election, you hardly ever saw him on TV. All he kept talking about was voting fraud. Doctors wasn't meeting, no plans being formulated, no type of logistics being set up to get the vaccine from the pharmaceutical company to the states, and from the states to the people. Nothing. Then you want to do an insurrection against your own people. 5 people died behind that. And then the Democrats want to turn around and when they want to impeach this guy, now they're talking about something so that he won't um, qualify to run for office again. How can you do that and still qualify? I don't understand that. You know, and when they was talking when they was talking about this fool, well, we have a respect for the integrity of the position of a president. You know, integrity for the office. Well, how do you have so much love for the office when you don't have no integrity to occupy the office? You have some of the most immoral, inept, spiteful people in the world be president of the United States. Where did this love come from? The office of the president of the United States does not set the tone for the country. The person who occupy it do. We need to start developing ways to have people of moral character. But you had one kind of sort of like that in Barack Obama, you want to run him out of there. Nothing he did was good enough for the people. So we need to have fairness in everything if there's ever going to be any type of racial equality within this country. You know, Ice Cube was talking about where's the black relief plan. Joe Biden talking about, well, there's a huge economic gap between blacks and whites. So I'm going to answer both of your questions. Um, our relief plan is going to come from having ownership and control over our essential needs. No one is going to pay you enough money to close that economic gap. Not when you look at the advantages that you could have through ownership. Imagine owning all the food industries or food businesses that it would take to feed 40 something million people. Imagine owning the industries that it would take to feed the businesses to feed the people. Imagine the advantage of working for both, employing your own people, establishing an economic floor, creating jobs and opportunities for our people to develop and grow this base. Do you think somebody's going to pay you enough to replace the advantages of doing all that yourself? No. So it don't matter if Joe Biden turned around tomorrow and made everybody pay black people $25 an hour. When the people in existence now that have ownership and control of not only their way of life, but our way of life, they will turn around the next day and raise the cost of living so that it won't change anything. We'll be right back where we started from. You know, black people, we spend $1.3 trillion in this country and we own nothing. No businesses or no industries. We cannot continue to go on this way, passing up economic opportunities, economic advantages, social advantages, political advantages, just to settle for somebody else to pay for us. And Joe Biden, it don't matter that you want to put a Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. You could put Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, and Mr. T on the money. But until black people have control over their money, it changes nothing. You know, and I'm not. Um, it means nothing as long as white people own and control access and the cost that we have to go to, the cost of our services that we have to go to and use for our people, it's not going to happen. We have to assume ownership and control of ourselves if we're going to have any type of equality. Whites can't own the businesses and industries that safeguard and protect their way of life and own ours. We have to develop our own base and govern our own people. And we can do that. And I don't want to hear about, you know, well, you can't own your own. You can't have two compete. Yes, you can. Everything in this country competes. There's boy versus girl, good versus evil, light, dark, bitter, sweet. Uh, there's competing forces all over this country and all over this world. But as soon as you talk about putting one of these things in the ownership and control of blacks, now all of a sudden you can't have it. You got the NBA, one league, two divisions, East and West. You got baseball, National League and American League. They both compete. So why can't this country, America, support a white economic structure and a black economic structure and see which one the people will choose? But like I say, as soon as you talk about putting that in the hands of black people, now all of a sudden, oh, they can't do that. But only white people, can have ownership and control over their way of life and our way of life, and think the results that black end up have nothing to do with them owning it. And if you think that blacks owning their own businesses and industries will result in blacks being last in every economic and social condition in this country, you're nuts. You know. But don't let me get too far off of Joe Biden, because now I'm finna work on his partner in crime, Kamala Harris. We've been here before. We had Barack Obama, who was supposed to have been a constitutional professor or whatever he was, come into office, and not once did he address the Constitution that this country is founded on. Where you got a Constitution that says blacks should have no rights that a white person have to respect, that the benefits of the Constitution was never intended for slaves or the descendants of slaves. We allowed Barack Obama 8 years in office, and he never addressed that. So now we got Kamala Harris, who was a prosecutor, district attorney, whatever it was, but her quote was Kamala Harris for the people. That was she campaigned on when she went after the wrongdoers and criminals, and she bragged about all the people she put in jail because she followed the law. Well, the law based on the Constitution says that any slave break any law, they immediately fall back up under involuntary servitude. So when Joe Biden talks about having equality in this country, I'm not looking to be equal with blacks, with whites. My thing is, I want to be equal to other people who came out of their enslavement, particularly Jews. When Jews came out of the Holocaust, when they was let out the ovens and set free, there wasn't anything they could have done to fall back up under control of the Germans. Why is it that blacks, they break any law and they can fall right back up under involuntary servitude? Well, we don't call it slavery no more. They call it involuntary servitude. And the same people who enslaved you is the same people who made the laws and changed the terminology and meaning of it once you became free. So Kamala Harris, if you're going to be for the people, you better be for your people first. And while you in office, I want you to take that. If you got to go down to wherever they keep that Constitution and get you get your own big pen or whatever it is, a Sharpie, and strike that right out. And when they look at, well, what do you think you're doing? You are not going to have my people fighting in the military, singing your national anthem, and you got laws like this that target specifically black people. And it's like I said, and it's not just the slaves. This goes to the descendants of slaves also. The Supreme Court of this country said so. So Kamala Harris, if you ever want to get the opportunity to run for a second term, because Joe Biden, let's just get this clear. Joe Biden is not running for re-election. it's going to be all on you, Kamala Harris. And let me be clear about this. I would vote for Big Bird to be president of the United States if he had laws and procedures that addressed black people specifically. If it followed my three P's, if it provided blacks a quality of life that was self-determined, if it allowed us to, if it specifically addressed us so we could protect what we have built and allow us to develop it to encompass more and more of our people, and then that would allow us to pass on whatever we accomplish on to our next generation. If any candidate run for office and say they can do that, I don't give a F if it was the Cookie Monster. He got my vote. So Kamala, if you have any aspirations of seeing this thing go beyond 4 years, you better get some laws that's going to affect your people, specifically your people. So, and the sad part about this video is we already know that white people are not going to be the author of anything that remotely come close to what I've been saying. We already know that. We also already know that there isn't a social leader in existence today, well, any well-known social leader in existence today that's speaking specifically about this. Not Al Sharpton, not Jesse Jackson, not Farrakhan, none of them. And the thing is, I don't even know if they even know how to do it. And so people don't think that I don't know how. Let me tell you how I would do it. The first thing I would do is utilize my people, and we collaborate. We have to have we have to transition from where we are to where we want to be, and realize that whatever this government has done, they've done so off the backs of black people. They either done it off the backs of our free labor when we were slaves, or off our tax dollars when we were underpaid to work for these monsters. So everything that this government has done, doing, and will do will be based on tax dollars. I am not about to call myself and tell my people to just up and separate from whites, and leave behind everything that our tax dollars, our blood, our sacrifice have paid for. We are going to get we're going to get some of this back. We're not walking away and leaving everything. And I'm talking about taking ownership and control over, like, for instance, if we come together as a people and take control of every sports arena in our city. Which people, well, what are you talking about, Jonathan? We in Detroit, you have a mayor that will give millionaires and billionaires millions of dollars to build a sports team. In return, the millionaire will turn around and hire the people of the city to work. I will give them jobs. Why are you doing that? You're a mayor. Your job is paid for by the people. The same money you took to give to the millionaires and billionaires, you could have set that aside, came to the people, say, hey, let's come up with some money and build this stadium for ourselves. And then take the revenue from this stadium and instead of putting it in the pockets of a millionaire, billionaire, use that money to offset the tax burden of the people. And now in Detroit alone, that would be the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Red Wings, the Detroit Lions. Um, just imagine having all those entities within the city of Detroit and using all the revenue that going straight to offset whatever tax base. So you could have your paycheck and just pay your bills, and likely you will have no tax debt. It'll be all owned and controlled um, by the city. And all you have to do is whatever with your mayor, just open up another branch to oversee the business affairs of each sports team. What's so hard about that? But see, no existing social leaders is going to tell you that. No white person is going to say, hey, you know what, we already own, because they already own businesses with Mike Ilitch. He owned Little Caesars. He was already millionaire and billionaire before he even bought the Tigers. So it's not going to hurt him whatsoever not owning the Tigers or the Red Wings. This could be money that each city that have a black population, and Detroit can be the beacon for that. Detroit can be the example. Detroit can be the light that pull the rest of our people out of the dark. Because Detroit is the blackest city in America. We have a 80% black city. Whatever goes down in this city is totally within the political power of our people. But we are fractured, and we have been misled. If we do this, we could put any political person in position to do exactly what I said. We already have thousands of black farmers. We can use them as a foundation for our food industry to feed not just every single person in the city of Detroit, but develop the black farmers, grow their base, and we could feed all our people. And especially when other states start to see what we're doing, and then we set the pattern, and now other states can start copying it for their area. Why couldn't we do it? Because we've been brainwashed. We've been under control of whites so long. We don't believe we can do these things on our own. And I'm trying to get my people out of this adolescent mentality and more of into an adult environment, because you will never receive the respect and admiration of anybody as long as everything that you do got to come through the permission or allowance of white people. Every time you look at somebody and they go, you can't do anything on your own anyway. I'm like, what even I'm even talking to you for? Just step aside. Let me talk to the white guy behind you. You could put a stop to that by seizing ownership and control over your way of life, having your own governing body. We're not interested in running the affairs of anybody else in this country, just ours. There's nothing illegal about that. Nothing. And it's right. White people should want you to do it. That way you don't have to complain about what whitey ain't doing for you no more. So they will complain, they'll argue, but they'll never let you go. They'll never tell you to do it on your own. But we have to tell them that, because there's no way, as long as slavery has been ended in this country, we don't have no type of economic base that we can say is ours. Everything we get, we got to go work for somebody else to do. How can you own that? How can you develop what somebody else giving you? All they got to do is just stop giving you. And you can't pass that on to anybody. It's time for my people to grow up, look at the leadership. Well, I'm going to say this. Look at how long these organizations have been in existence. If you don't want to do what I suggest, then at least Stop supporting these organizations that's not doing nothing for you. If you don't want to seize ownership and control over your way of life, will you at least stop supporting these other organizations, the Rainbow Coalition, the NOI, National Action Network, the NAACP? Because I'm like this. I don't care who run your organization. When I look at the results today, when I look at the vulnerabilities that my people live up under today, my social leader could be my own mama, and I wouldn't give her not one more dime. So if we don't want to build our own, can you at least stop paying those who pretend they want to? And before I end this video, let me say this. For any white people who may think that, I'm racist or I'm radical for suggesting this. If you honestly believe that the plight of black people do not stem directly from you having ownership and control over their way of life, if you honestly believe that, then give up your ownership and control and give it to black people. See how comfortable, just see how comfortable you would be if blacks owned and controlled everything that you do, your job, your house, how you provide for your wife, your children, how you invest in your 401k, how you pay for your medical, how you pay for your children's tuition, all tied to what somebody black decides you have. How comfortable would you? We're not talking about the mistreatment. We're not even going to go there. Could you, Whitey, marry marry the love of your life, put her in a home, have children, and be dependent, all that, being able to do this throughout their lives, all depending on if this black guy keep you employed? You wouldn't want that. And I'm talking about people now. And they wouldn't want that. So if they wouldn't want it for themselves, how do they convince black people? How do they convince black people to want this for themselves? How do you think it feels having everything that you want to do tied to whether whitey keep uh, you employed or not? You know, so I'm gonna end this video here. But before I do, I found myself. I remember when I first started doing these videos, I was very, very much against the Bible. And I was telling a friend of mine, I said, man, I want to take that thing and just throw it in the trash. But over the last year or so, things I've been seeing in reality, I've read in this Bible. And I'm not going to say I'm a 100% believer in it, but I am going to say that I no longer want to toss it aside. Actually, I found myself referencing a lot of what I want to do out of the Bible. And I caught myself using words, scripture, and doctrine, and I'm like, where did that come from? I'm sounding like a preacher now. But I keep this with me, and I go through it from time to time. And I write down scriptures, and I try to memorize them. I'm not that good at it yet, but Because the Bible say, take these scriptures and put them to your heart. So I'm gonna keep this because it just goes to show that I've been getting a better response for my videos, and I'm using a lot of scripture in my videos. And I've just been doing this just for maybe not even maybe a year or so. And when I see people, calling me, texting me, inboxing me, telling me how powerful my message is, and when I see who was in control of this Bible for so long, and when I see the impact that it can make on our people when it's in the right hands with the right intentions, it can really help us get to where we were supposed to be. So I'm going to use, and I've always been in the mindset to use whatever instrument or vehicle that I could use to motivate my people. And again, like I say, it just sounds good sometimes when you put it in your hand. I'm gonna use this um, for all my future videos. You're gonna see that too. So with that being said, I'm gonna end this video. And if you like this message, please share it. And I don't normally ask anybody to subscribe to my channel because it's not about building a YouTube presence. I want to build a presence outside of YouTube. But if you like the video, please subscribe to it and share the message. And with this video, as with all my videos, it is for the complete liberation of my people. And I'll see you in my next message. Ashe.